introductions? Not seeing any, we'll just move on and we will go ahead with the committee recommendations. We'll start with the Board of Barbering. Does anyone have any changes or corrections? I know we talked about it before.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Representative Amix.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After going through the budget and after going through the additional information that the board provided us with their spreadsheets from the other day, there's good accounting throughout this entire budget for a small agency. I'd be happy to make a motion that we concur with recommendation on this budget.
Well, you feel free to go ahead and do that.
I make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
With a motion from Representative Amix and a second from Representative Van Houten. I have not been drinking. I have no idea why this is a problem for me. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The Board of Barbering budget will go to appropriations. Then we'll move on to the Kansas Board of Cosmetology. Is there any discussion on the Board of Cosmetology? Representative Turk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This particular budget has gone through some turbulent last couple cycles, but given the briefing we received from the new director, I think she's on the right page. I think she's showing and displaying the level of discernment needed to bring this particular budget and this particular agency back on track. She's earned some grace, and I think that the budget as presented should be passed out. So I'll make that motion.
Right, there's a motion from Representative Turk to pass out the cosmetology budget as presented. Is there a second?
I will second again.
Representative Van Houten. Is there any other discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The cosmetology budget goes on as presented. All right, we'll move on to the Judicial Council. Why do I have this one in a different order? Okay. Is there anything that anyone would like to recommend or change?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Representative Turk.
Thank you. All I see, the only additional funds were in the salaries and wages. Is that correct?
Correct. Are there any other questions? If not, the discussion has ended. Do I have a motion for accepting or denying?
I move that we accept the Judicial Council budget as presented.
All right, I have a motion from Representative Van Houten, and I see fingers lifted up by Representative Turk. Is there any other discussion? All right, then we'll call for the vote. All those in favor of accepting the Judicial Council budget?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to the Dental Board. Does anyone have any recommendations that they would like to add? Yes, Representative Turk.
I'll take Kirk too, whatever.
Turk. I am having a terrible time this afternoon. I don't know why.
That last cup of coffee you didn't get that I got. Madam Chair, I move that we push the dental board onto the next level. I make a motion that we accept it as presented.
We have a motion by Representative Turk and a second by Representative Hobson. Is there any other discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. we pass on the Kansas Dental Board to appropriations. Then we'll move on to the Kansas Human Rights Commission. Is there any discussion on Human Rights Commission? Representative Pickert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we accept the Human Rights Commission budget as presented with no changes.
There's a motion from Representative Pickert and a second from Representative O'Hobison. Is there any other discussion? If not, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That moves on as well. Then we'll move on to the Kansas Board of Examiners and fitting and dispensing of hearing instruments. By the way, hearing aid people, if you would ever want to come in and test anyone's hearing here, we would not mind. Just thought I'd tell you. Does anyone have any? Representative Amix.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since this is the biggest budget that we'll deal with, and I don't know what we could do. I would make a motion that we adopt and send this out.
Okay, there's a motion on the table from Representative Amix and a second from Representative Riley. Is there any other discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on the hearing instruments. Office of Administrative Hearings is next. Is there any discussion or recommendations that we'd like to change? Representative Pickert.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the Office of Administrative Hearings budget as presented with no changes.
Okay. We have a second from Representative O'Hobison.
One comment, if we could.
Comment from Representative Amix.
Madam Chair, and the interim director there that comes every year. I mean, he does such a thorough job in all of whatever we ask.
Yeah, well, I'd like to be changed from acting.
Well, that's what I was thinking, but I don't think we can do that, but
Yeah, but
we could.
so we can
that-
we could put that in our recommendations. All right. Well, I'll call for the vote then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Now we'll move on to the Board of Examiners and Optometry, correct? Isn't that next? Is there any, are there any recommendations or discussions? Representative O'Hobison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we accept their recommendations for the Board of Examiners and Optometry.
Is there,
I'll second.
there's a second from Representative Van Houden. Is there any other discussion? Representative Pickert.
In my notes, I have that they have some statutes about printing certificates, and maybe that needs to be addressed at some point so that they can be more digitalized. So.
We put that in our comments. We need, they said it's by it is by statute that they have to print them, so. And maybe, it's none of my beeswax, but for anything else, to see how many agencies have statute that says that, so that would cause them not to be able to go digital. They don't have to necessarily, but yes, Representative Turk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That might be something that we can send to legislative modernization to look.
Great, okay, I will do that. Okay. I'll write that down so I don't forget that. All right. Is there any other discussion? All right. Did we already vote? No, we did not. We need a motion. We did get one? You did move and you seconded?
And then you asked for discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. All right. Then we'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes with Trying to move that on to legislative modernization. Okay, Chair. Pooled Money Investment Board. Is there any discussion or recommendation on that? No? Representative Pickard?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the Pooled Money Investment Board budget as recommended with no changes.
There's the second from Representative Melton. Is there any other discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, we're on to the Real Estate Appraisal Board, another hotbed of problems, right there. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll call motion. Representative Van Houten.
Move we accept the Kansas Real Estate Appraisal Board budget as presented.
There's a motion on the table from Representative Van Houten. Is there a second? A second by Representative Riley. Is there? I think he wants to talk, not blow his nose. Yes.
Just wanted to clarify with the committee. So the agency has a submitted budget request. The special committee on the state budget also made a number of recommendations. Most of them don't impact the agencies that are before you. But just wanted to clarify for the record, when the committee is making a motion and mentioning that there aren't any making a recommendation on a budget as recommended without changes, to what is what are you comparing to? No changes from the state
Committee.
Right, but is there no changes relative to the budget as presented by the special committee on the state budget?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay. That is the.
So we'll just say we'll press the budget as presented instead of as, is that better?
Sure. Yeah, that works for us. Just wanted to clarify.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Representative Turk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to be clear, so that I understand, I think the committee understands, because I've seen some mixed faces. I saw some faces that looked like, I get it, and then I saw some that looked like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. So you mean, when we say we are accepting it as presented, that is with the changes from the interim
LBC.
budget committee, right?
Yes, Representative, that's correct. This will mostly come into play with larger budgets that you have before you, ahead of you.
Yes.
For those budgets where the special committee on the state budget made substantive recommendations, those recommendations are incorporated into the budget, the appropriations bills that were introduced today. And so that will largely be where we make our adjustments.
Great. That's how I understand it. Great. So
Just as presented.
So as all of the reappropriations and the requests that were made and removed by the previous committee, and then were presented to us as removed. Yes, unless we specify that we want those added back.
That is correct.
All right, good. Just making sure. Okay, great. All on the same page. Love being on the same page. Thank you.
All right. So did we already vote on that one? Are we done? Okay. We don't have to change it. We'll move on to the Real Estate Commission. Is there any discussion or changes or recommendations? If not, I'll ask for a motion. Representative Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we accept the budget as presented for the Kansas Real Estate Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Representative Van Houten. Is there any other discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll go on to our final budget, Kansas Public Disclosure Commission, formerly known as Kansas Ethics. Is there any other discussion with that? Representative Riley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Did the discussion that we had last year about any fines that this commission had would go to the state general fund. Did that happen? And so therefore, all they are, they're only using their fees and the thing, but no fines.
That I don't remember.
We had that discussion that we didn't want them to have,
Right.
that was an incentive for
Right,
them
to
to
fine.
fine people.
Does KLRD know or the revisor know on that? Oh, Representative Turk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me clarify. I believe, I know I have the same problem, Bill, where all the years are kind of running together. It may have been 2 years ago what you were referring to, where we took half of their, they were all fee funded, then we made half of them SGF, right? So that the incentive for the fees and their expansion wouldn't be an issue. Is that where you're referring to? Because then last year's discussion was the fact that they had pending pending cases with potential ramifications against the agency, against their lost cases. That is a good question. I don't know that that came up in the briefing, whether or not they had been levied those against, whether how they paid them or if they, how, I don't, those answers did not happen at the briefing. It would
Yeah.
be nice to know if I guess the fines that the agency itself are going to be responsible for were paid. Do we have any data on that, staff?
Yes, Madam Chair. Again, goes back to that discussion. Even though they had people that were in litigation, that money they weren't to keep. They were to move that to SGF, was my understanding. We had that discussion that,
Yeah. Was there a motion? I don't remember.
there wasn't a motion.
We moved, unless we move it, it doesn't go to appropriations. Correct?
Yes, that's
Stephen?
correct. It was a point of discussion 2 years ago. But it wasn't made, it never made it into a motion, and so appropriations never took it up.
And I've had that problem before, and unless we move here and then again in appropriations, things don't happen.
Well, is there a possibility that, I'm not going to make that motion now, but I'm open for discussion. Again, any consequences that might be made because of that into their budget, but I do not want this agency, this commission to be making money on fines. So
Maybe the
what is the
revisor has an
recommendation by
answer?
the revisor?
Um, the revisor recommends that we wait until tomorrow so she can research it and see if that would make you more comfortable. Do we
Sure.
need Representative Turk?
So I'll make a motion to push this budget to tomorrow so that the staff has time to
Recommendation.
research that. We can come up with some good,
Yeah.
it's a good question. And I apologize for not bringing it up during the briefing. I should have remembered that. With as much action as this agency and this budget has had over the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was at the end of the day. I don't remember, but maybe we were ready to go home, but that's a good idea. So I make the motion to push this budget decision till tomorrow.
I have a motion to move this budget to tomorrow recommendation, and there's a second motion is from Representative Turk. The second is from Representative Pickert. All right. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. We will push this off to tomorrow. All right. I don't see anything else coming before this. Does anyone have anything else? Representative Amix.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just so I'm clear, we'll say it that way. Everything that we approved today included these changes, correct?
No, those are specific agencies and they're not all these
Here.
agencies. They're not, those aren't. Only, I believe the former ethics committee was on that list. If you go through, because it tells you like governor, administration, revenue.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, but as we go forward, the changes that'll appear on here, we need to look at this.
You need to look at it very
Okay.
closely. Yes,
Sure, I'm
Uh,
understanding.
yes.
Sorry, Madam Chair, the Kansas Human Rights Commission did feature reappropriations that are featured in that document, as well as enhancements through the Board of Cosmetology.
Oh, boy.
Madam Chair, is that the one that's like $600
Yeah.
Yeah.
in reappropriations? Yeah,
Yeah.
we're good.
Okay. But we do need to be looking at that as we go along too, because there are other things we need to pay attention to. Is there any other discussion? Well, I think we did good. So, all right, thank you, committee. I'll call this meeting adjourned.